Waiting on Pam.
You're good?
There's a song there somewhere.
We're good? Okay, it is 10 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order, certify that we do have a quorum present. All 5 members are here. Item number 2 is opening prayer. Ricky, will you lead us in an opening prayer? And following that, Commissioner John Clement, will you lead us in the pledges? Would everybody please rise?
Let us pray. Father, we're so thankful today that we have this opportunity to come together and to do the business of this county. I pray, Lord, that your blessings would be upon this meeting and upon all of the members of Commissioners Court. Help them, Father, give them wisdom to do the things that are right for the citizens of our county. We thank you for all of your blessings. Thank you that yesterday was Easter and the meaning of that. I just pray, Lord, that all of us would be found doing those things that are pleasing with you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 5 is public comments. I don't believe we had anybody sign up. Item number 6 is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they wish to pull?
Let's talk about Jay just a minute, please.
Okay.
Pull Jay.
Any other items?
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda excluding J.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement to approve the consent excluding item J.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner John Clement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. J is deliberate and consider possible approval of bid specs for road oil products FY 20-05 to be used for road and bridge departments and advertisement for the same. Commissioner?
This may also be a kind of a Shelley question. I noticed, and it's probably been that way for a while, but 20,000 gallons per precinct. That's about a little over 3 loads. With the amount of damage that we got on our chip seal roads, do we need to be sure that we're contracting enough? In other words, we need to bump that a little?
Are we tied just to that much?
Shelley?
I wouldn't think we would be, would we?
She's looking. Well, they could tie us to that. That's what I'm concerned about.
Their bid would be based on using that much.
But I mean, I could see us, most of us now, using more than 3 loads. I mean,
It's approximate use.
Would it help the bid if they knew we were using more?
Maybe.
well, but we're not necessarily committing. We could get bad weather and not end up doing that. Do we need? You think we need to do anything with it?
You're afraid you'll get cut off?
Or the price will go up or whatever? Yeah, I don't know.
Because weather permitting,
We
plan on going over that, but there's a lot of variables. We thought we were going to be doing other things now for the last month, too.
Do you put a range on that?
We could put a range.
I guess talk to them and ask them if we need to put a range on it.
Can you talk to them, though? We have to put it in spec, don't we?
These haven't changed since we first put them out, so.
There's never been a problem before. Okay.
On average, I don't know that we've ever used more.
On average, yeah, I don't know. I know I have, personally.
One precinct may not have, and one might have gone over. I don't know if.
So you think we're good?
Yes.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell to approve item J.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Leon Clement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 7 is deliberate and consider possible approval of Treasurer's monthly report.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Snuggs. I'll second that. Any further discussion on the monthly report? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item 8 is deliberate and consider possible approval of Treasurer's quarterly report.
So moved.
We got a motion by Commissioner Snuggs, second by Commissioner Hollowell. Any discussion on the quarterly report? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 9 is deliberate and consider possible action on release agreement and a report of quarterly air sampling reports on Texas Frac LLC from 2018 to 2018 and 2019. I believe we have gentlemen with Texas Frac on the line. Gentlemen, if you can hear me, I don't know if your lines are muted or not, but if we can unmute their lines. I don't know if both of them are on there or not, but we'll unmute both lines of the two that have called in. Okay. Yeah. Do we have somebody from Texas Frac on the line? Can they... Where's this audio going to come out of? Are they speaking? Okay. Unmute both of them.
Try both of them and see what you get.
Okay. Do we have somebody from Texas Frac on the line?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you would just, can you give us a brief overview of the sampling that was done, just to kind of refresh court's memory on this?
Yes, sir, I sure will.
And can you identify yourself if you don't mind to?
Yes, sir. My name is Keith Stoltz. I'm the plant manager at Texas Frac.
Thank you.
Just kind of a brief history. What we're looking at is EOG entered into a contract with the Cooke County to do some air sampling above what was required by the TCEQ, and that was due to some neighbors. What this consisted of was 2 air sampling stations, one upwind and one downwind, and the purpose of those was to measure on the upwind side what the normal background dust content was, and the downwind side would measure how much Texas Frac was actually adding to the dust problem. That started in 2018, 17. We were required under the contract to do that for 1 year, and at the end of 1 year we were supposed to have collected data from the samplers. For the first year, everything that we collected was sent to North Carolina and was tested by a independent company and compared it to the national standards for PM10 and PM4 dust. PM10 simply means particulate matter up 10 microns, and PM4 is particulate matter for 4 microns, which is respirable dust. We did that for 1 year, and when we came to the section where we were going to just simply collect data and not send it to Cooke County, the EPA had changed the rules from measuring a 2.5, PM 2.5 to a PM 4. So the contract was actually written 6 or 7 years before sampling started. And that's when Texas Frac took over. So I met with Commissioner Clement and Judge Brinkley to talk about how we would resolve this. And what they suggested was that we actually continue to do the sampling and the testing area up to North Carolina for 1 more year, which ended December of 2019. All of the samples that we took were well underneath EPA guidelines for PM10 and PM4, and they were well underneath the EPA guidelines for how much dust you were allowed to contribute to the baseline. So it's our feeling that we have completed the testing as required by the contract. We have proven that we're well below the EPA guidelines for the limits, and we would like to have a release to the contract so that we can get it recorded.
Thank you, sir. Just kind of in short, because I don't know how well the audio is on the live stream, but the explanation was I think a very good one, that Texas Frac was required to provide basically 2 years worth of testing. They provided that testing, and it was below the threshold requirements for both of those years, and that ended December of 2019, and they're just asking for a release and acknowledgement of that.
You've read the contract, I've read the contract. The way we got into this, we were part of the lawsuit with the concerned citizens that time, and to get extra testing, the county got out of being involved with that, and it was EOG at the time, agreed to this contract to test the air for several years just to verify that they weren't adding new pollutants to the area. And I think we're at the end of it.
Yes.
I think everybody has fulfilled their contractual agreements. Thanks for being on the phone, if he's still there. So, did you let it? Did Ed look at this?
Yeah, Ed looked at it.
County attorney looked at it. Everybody's looked at it. So.
And they've sent comprehensive reports that I think was sent out, not necessarily in the packet, because it alone is a couple hundred pages.
Yeah, there's been reports that we've received, and I think so far I'm satisfied. I think they've fulfilled their contractual duty as to what we all agreed to. So I'll make a motion we approve.
You have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement. I will second that motion. Anybody have any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 10 is deliberate consider possible action regarding RFPs for radio communications improvement. Ray, I'm going to let you run with this a little bit.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
You can stand and put that at that podium if you want to.
All right, good morning. Good. That's good. I just want to be able to see everybody. And Trot Communications, I believe, our contractor for the engineering on this study, are on the phone and can hear everything.
Yes, Tom Murphy with Trot here.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So I'm Ray Fletcher, Cooke County Emergency Manager, and what we're discussing right now is that we had put out an RFP, request for proposals for a improvement to our countywide radio program that we have. We had 2 contractors return their proposals, Self Radio and Harris Communications, And the score sheets, Trot Communications went through both proposals and for us and came up with a comparison and scoring sheet. And we've provided that to all of you at this point, as well as the sheriff and Kevin Grant, the EMS director. Some highlights in the scoring sheet that I believe is in your package that I'll note before turning it over to Trot for their analysis. The coverage guarantee was 95% by self-radio, which is what we requested. Harris has said that their primary would be 73%, and then they might be able to get 86% out of an alternate configuration. The total price was for just the system to be built out, $1,367,000 for herself, $1,900,000 for Harris. Self says they can do this in 10 months. Harris says 17 months, and Harris on the testing will only allow 20% of loading on the 30-day burn-in test, which is, I would not feel safe with that. But I think if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and let Tom Murphy with Trot Communications give his input on it, and then go from there. So, Tom, if you're on, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Ray. Ray did a pretty good job of summarizing all the items there. Trot doesn't do any scoring ourselves. We just try to provide, a technical analysis of the responses to allow the radio committee and the commissioners to score appropriately, which you guys have done. As Ray pointed out, the self-proposal came in. The actual updated one is 1.6 for 5 sites, 3 sites, 5 channels. Costs went up a little bit because we had to abandon the WinStar water tank site and go with a full new tower build up at the Civil Bend School. But the proposal itself came in pretty close to the budgets we had estimated. They're willing to guarantee the coverage we asked for. The county has a good relationship with self-radio from on your existing system. That's about it.
All right. Thanks, Tom. I think, if anybody has any questions for Tom or me, we can try to answer them. I think one thing this morning, the goal is to determine which one of these we will proceed with. This is simply their proposal, and that whoever we choose to proceed with then would go into the negotiating phase, where we would determine what specifically we want to do, any additional maintenance or coverages we want after the build out. All those specific details can then be worked out with that particular contractor. Tom, is that right?
Yes, exactly right. We're seeking approval at this point is not to fully approve one of these vendors, but is to have permission from the commissioners to now enter into contract negotiations with a selected vendor to nail down all these technical items and come back with a contract that is approved by the radio committee and what's the word that we would recommend to the commissioners to approve.
All right, thanks, Tom. And then if anybody has any questions.
And I know it's been a while since we've had this back on, so I just kind of want to walk back through everything, or not everything, but a little bit, just to kind of refresh everybody's memory. What we're looking at is a 3-site possibility. Is that 3rd site still a receive?
No, sir. That's a full transmit receive site.
Okay. Because at one time we have 2 sites now that we currently use, one on Rice Avenue and one at Pentex. We had talked about having a 3rd site at WinStar. However, there's some other complications there. So this is with a proposed site at Civil's Bend, which there is no current tower. That's why the site improvement cost would be in there. But So what's being bid out, or what's being proposed here, excuse me, by both companies would be full receive and send capabilities on 5 channels through digital for all 3 sites.
Yes, sir, and all 3 sites will be simulcast, meaning they'll all be transmitting these same 5 channels countywide to improve coverage.
And I know the equipment for it may vary, but is there anything that would require on either one of these that we use one certain type of radio, whether it's Motorola or Kenworth or whatever it is, or is that still, it's not proprietary to that point, am I correct? On
exactly, sir. That's why this is a P25. This is the national standard approved for public safety, and the benefit, one of the benefits of P25 is it's an open standard. So even though the infrastructure will be one flavor depending on which vendor we end up going with, your users can select any subscriber by any manufacturer that is P25 compliant.
And I know that the primary price is in there for both of them, but then there's also maintenance and support costs that is shown out through 6 years and through 11 years. I'm assuming during negotiations with either, whichever one we choose, some of that would be potentially optional. Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah, that pricing was asked to be provided as an option now, and then when we go into contract negotiations, we'll all work together to decide which options we wish to enact and make part of the contract.
Thoughts?
Tom, is there an industry standard on the brand of radio out there right now?
No, sir.
In the North Texas area, what are the other agencies, emergency service agencies, using to, if you're familiar with that or can answer it? I can rephrase that if you'd like.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so in the North Texas area is actually all 3 of the major vendors are pretty well represented. Of course, you have Motorola, Harris, and E.F. Johnson. And unfortunately, in our case, Motorola, they came to the pre-bid proposal conference and just sent a letter to us saying they chose not to participate. They didn't feel they had a good existing relationship with the county, and they didn't know what the budget was, is what we could glean from their letter of no bid. But for some examples, the city of Richardson is Harris. I think Denton County is Motorola. We're working with DFW Airport right now. Theirs is E.F. Johnson. So there's a pretty good mix in the North Texas area, sir.
Why would Motorola think they don't have a good working relationship with us?
I don't know. I was very disappointed. It only hurts the process that they did not participate, frankly. And even if Motorola corporate didn't want to participate, we were hoping they would have one of their local dealers like Bearcom or Shipman participate, just like E.F. Johnson chose Self to participate for them. So I don't know.
Did we reach out and find out? Because I didn't know we didn't have a...
They were sent the RFP, and they actually did come to the pre-proposal conference, but then they sent a letter to the county stating their choice not to bid. We did not communicate with them further. No, sir.
Was there any question about whether or not our specification was too vague or impractical for the budget?
Obviously, we don't think so. Harris and E.F. Johnson did not have an issue with it.
It appears Harrison says they don't believe that the 5 VHF frequency pairs can be selected from the available spectrum to meet the goals set by the RFP. So is there a chance that 2 out of the 3 didn't think it was feasible?
I can't answer for Motorola on that one, sir, but E.F. Johnson and Self feel that they can make it work. They have a good knowledge of those existing frequencies. We also put the RFP evaluations a little bit on hold to check with APCO, which is the public safety coordinator nationwide for public safety frequencies, to check on the expansion of the existing frequencies countywide, and also to obtain some extra frequencies that the vendors were then given as choices to also choose in case they, to mitigate their interference concerns.
Yeah, when I'm sorry if I may, in the initial proposals, there was the 5 frequencies and a lot of conflict issues. And then we went back to APCO, and I can't remember how many additional VHF frequencies we were able to basically reserve to be able to use to determine if they could do a better job. And both, at least in this case, both of these the groups that replied were given all of that information to be able to make it a better fit with the 5 frequencies.
Yeah, but it sounds like Harris said they can't. I mean, what's written here is Harris does not believe. So.
Well, it says.
I could add on, gentlemen, that the Motorola letter does not mention the frequencies. They just mentioned, and we can provide a copy, of course, of that letter, but they just had concerns that they didn't have a working relationship or knowledge of the county, and they didn't think they could fit within the budget, so they didn't know what the budget was. But Spectrum was not mentioned in their letter, sir.
But Tom, to kind of go down that road just a little bit, if we have Motorola brand radios, or if we purchase them, they would work with whatever system we're putting in place, correct?
As long as they're P25 compliant, yes, sir.
But the problem you have is one of your vendors can't provide them. You got one vendor that spells out what they will provide, and you have another that just says H3 just shows P25 compatible. Are they a radio brand? Harris, is that do they have a brand?
What brand does Harris support?
Yeah. No, Harris, they make their own equipment as well. They're all P25 as well, sir.
Okay. So it's its own specific.
And E.F. Johnson's now part of the Kenwood family, JVC Kenwood, and they also produce P25 equipment.
What agency's currently using that equipment now? Can you tell us? Is that not some type of proprietary issue?
No, yeah. DFW Airport could be using them. We're working with them at DFW Airport currently, actually.
And it covers how many square acres versus how many square miles? I could see DFW. I could see DFW in their section of land or whatever being well satisfied with that equipment. I'm thinking now something the size of Cooke County, would that equipment be sufficient?
Well, right, the size of the area is really, part of the issue here. The equipment meets the standard, it's compliant with the standard, and I would add too that there are some radios from E.F. Johnson and Kenwood in use in other spaces here because of the compatibility of the protocol. So I believe there are some in the city of Irving, for example, as well as other spaces in the DFW area.
And as I understand, P25 compatible, it came about after 9/11, and basically what that allows people to do is to purchase digital radios so that everybody can have the same frequencies available.
Right, that is the protocol, so therefore if you have a radio that meets that protocol, then it will operate on any system from any of the vendors as long as they also meet that protocol. So the purpose of that was to get us out of the proprietary field for digital radios, which is a problem prior to 9/11.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily dictate a quality just because it meets that criteria and it's compatible. Is that correct?
Well, there's other pieces of that standard as far as the quality goes. So there are things, there are the mil specs attached to the durability of the radio. So the quality of the radio is also a set of standards, but the protocol itself is different. So yes, a part of the purchasing of the portable radios themselves, the mobiles and the portables, there is a quality factor that's part of that as well, which is also apparent during that purchase process.
Given, everyone provided the same spec and same information. Do you have any idea why the discrepancy would be so wide between 95% and 73% of coverage?
No, I cannot answer why Harris is so much less.
Okay. I don't remember when we started this process. How did we do the selection when we started the assessment and then the specification and then ultimately the ranking? You remember?
I don't know what you're asking.
How did we get to the engineers that we currently have involved? How did we get Tom's group involved initially?
They were recommended as a kind of capable local contractor.
Who recommended them?
Self Radio has a relationship with them as well as Harris, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we've worked with all major radio vendors, Harris, Motorola, and EFJ all over the nation, actually. We're doing a Motorola system up in Connecticut. What was the system in North Carolina? That was the Asheville.
That's also Motorola.
Okay, that was the Motorola system. They won that. E.F. Johnson won the DFW airport system. Harris won the City of Richardson system that we worked on. What was Rockwall County?
So Rockwall County's Harris, actually.
Okay, Rockwall County also Harris. So we're not biased to any particular vendor, sir.
Right. Now, I just look at the fact we and I'm not questioning anybody's integrity. I'm just stating what the appearance is at this point in time. We have a relationship, then we have the same engineers write the spec, do the assessment, and do the ranking.
We didn't provide any scoring, sir.
Okay.
Well, the scoring, you talking about your scoring or our scoring? Our scoring.
No, we don't have any.
I know, but when I get something like this, and I didn't score it. I didn't score it for this fact. One of them has 95%, the other one is 73%. When I see that much disparity, you know what I mean, that much difference, let's use that word, then that tells me in this day and age, with the way technology is, there's got to be something causing that difference, and that makes my antenna go up. And when you get down to the technicalities of this, how do I score it? If I'm going to score it strictly on well, one of them can do 95%, the other one 73%, and the price difference, but what am I going to get at the end of it? You have a company that says you can't do the 5 VHF pairs on the available spectrum. Another one says the other explanation for the other company is they have a solid understanding of the county's spectrum history and has special filtering to mitigate interference. So, in other words, what I'm being told is there is interference between channels, I guess that close. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but one company has special filtering. That's just layman's interpretation of what I see. So I read that, I'm going, well, I'm going to get told by an engineer of all the technical aspects of why I'm wrong, so I didn't score it. I looked at it, I find it interesting. I don't know if cheapest priced is best in this. I know Commissioner Hollowell apparently has some concerns about different radios. Are we assured that we're going to have fiber at that tower out at the Civils Bend School? And do we have a guarantee we're going to be on the fiber? See, I've never even been told that yet.
I was waiting for Tom to chime in.
There's a lot of variables in this. When it comes down to what we need to do, I need somebody to come see us or talk to us or present me a nice proposal that says we have fiber, we're guaranteed access to the fiber. I don't even know that till today. So I've got a few questions. Maybe you all think they're foolish questions. I don't know. But we're going to spend a lot of money. I think Gary's concerned that this might have been skewed a little bit. I don't know if that's the correct word to use. Maybe not. But when there's a lot of distance between the two. I'd like to have better clarification as to why.
And again, I'm not questioning anybody's integrity.
I'm not either.
I'm just...
It's just a layman's interpretation of what I read. What's the difference and why?
Yeah.
And that's just a normal question to ask. Why? You know, if I'm buying a new pickup truck and I price a Dodge and a Ford or a Chevrolet or any one of them, and there's a huge cost difference between two like vehicles, I want to know what the difference is. What's happened that caused that much difference in price?
Well,
and then when one of the I know these are all reputable companies, and when one of them says you can't, and that's my layman's interpretation of what I'm reading, you can't set up a radio system on these 5 VHF pairs like that. In other words, what I'm saying is you're going to have interference or whatever, crosstalk, whatever you want to call it. I need some assurances that this will work before I'll say yes or no. That's my problem. That's my issue with all this.
And the other concern I have is that we wrote some specifications and we got some responses, and then those that responded have spent 7 or 8 months explaining or assessing or evaluating or clarifying their initial proposal. So it's something, you know, something that wouldn't appear to be quite so straightforward.
Well, I understand some of that concern, but if Motorola chose not to go after it, they chose not to go after it, and there's not much we can do about that.
Oh, I don't know that it has to be Motorola, but if I got Harris sitting here saying they can't do it, you know, and of course they've got their own product, and I don't know anything about their product, but
I surely don't.
So where would you guys advise we go from here?
Well, we've been at it for a long time.
Sir, there's a point that we can make on this end. It's important to note that the RFP, the process of the RFP, includes a lot of testing and guarantees. So part of what any of the vendors that would sign a contract is going to have to do is they're going to have to sign up for that testing and guarantee process. So there is a coverage test that has to be passed that shows that they meet that, you know, set of requirements and obligations. There's also a series of equipment tests that would have to be met to show that all of that would function, including the interference protections. So any sort of contract that would be signed here would include those guarantees, and it would be up to the vendor to show at the end of this that they do indeed meet those guarantees. So part of what I think should be taken here is that this isn't just a sign on the dotted line and let the vendor do its thing and accept it. There is a pretty onerous acceptance process, and the vendor doesn't get paid at the end until they meet it.
what if we get into this 750, 800,000 and they have a finished product and they can't make their 95%? I just say they generically, or they can't, you know.
Right, per the contract, if it takes additional sites, additional equipment, additional resources for them to meet that guarantee, it's the obligation of the vendor to provide that at no cost to the county.
So they would, there's a chance they would have to invest and expend the monies to create a fourth or fifth site, and that would be on their dime?
That would be on them.
Yes, it would.
And
Sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
I just took a pregnant pause and stopped.
Okay.
My concern would be we'd spend a bunch of money in that product and be several $100,000 into it and not have any recourse if they couldn't meet that 95% coverage. And especially if I base my decision on the fact 95% coverage versus 73%.
Right. The recourse would be the bond. There is a performance bond as part of this as well. And so there's a bonding company that guarantees the performance of the vendor. And if you have to, you can call that bond. That's obviously a situation that you don't want to have to do, but part of what you have available to you is that performance bond, which is there to hold the vendor accountable.
Well, I'll say it this way. We've been at this for a long time. There are some things that I think I need to have Ray or someone locally here finish explaining to me. The world's been going kind of crazy well, we've all been kind of had our attention directed to other issues lately. And I don't think it's going to hurt us to wait. Is that all right with you, all of you?
Yeah, I'm good.
I don't have any issues with waiting and making a decision after we've kind of familiarized ourselves a little bit more with.
Beat ourselves up some more with this?
I would even like maybe some third-party consultation.
Can we do that?
Can we do that?
I'm sorry, what?
Said, can we get some third-party consultation?
Is this an RFP?
It is.
I don't know.
But just a second opinion or glanced at.
From whom?
Another radio person. They're not considered candidates.
I think the concern is and that if we're going to spend well over $1 million by the time it's all said and done, that we want to make sure we're making the right decision, I think is what sounds like Commissioner Hollowell's.
Well, that's what I'm saying too.
Well, and guys, really, if you look at it, this is a long-term deal.
Yeah.
I'm looking over here at this $11 million, this 11-year contract.
It's an 11-year contract. This isn't. We're not going out and buying a CB radio and putting it in a pickup truck.
There's a lot of optional stuff to that, and we've got to feather through all that as well.
And if I look at that and the two vendors, I save $600,000.
Yeah. If you signed up for everything and look at the bottom line after that.
The bottom line, I save $600,000.
For a lot less coverage.
I don't know that.
I don't know quite the right terminology to quite put this right. Before we got everybody on the phone, we should have had a presentation of this in a meeting. At least I think we should have. To explain some of this stuff. Instead of just, I know, you sent this all out. I couldn't even read the one sheet. The print was so small. But we've all been sidetracked with this COVID business, so it's not like we haven't been busy.
And I think that it's good explanation on answering some questions today, but I don't know that there's anything, we're not up against any hard time frame.
No, we're not. That's the point I'm making. We've been at this. That's why I said we've been at this for quite a while already. Another few weeks isn't going to make or break.
And I misunderstood. I thought you told me the engineer scored this.
No.
The engineers prepared the scoring sheet for us to evaluate.
It has not been scored by an engineer.
No.
They pulled the facts from the proposals.
Who put that document together? Can you see it? It's the one that says.
Yeah, that was the early score sheet that they produced, and then they came back and produced the Excel spreadsheet also.
The engineer done this one, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we table it? Would it be best to table it, or? No, I don't know about tabling it.
We can, I'd like to have some guidance on what more do we want before we're ready to make a decision one way or the other, or I just kind of wanted a little idea of what we need, because in order to be able to put it back on court and say, hey, we're ready to discuss it further in X way or Y way or whatever that case may be. If we want to go with try to find another independent consultant or whatever to have a look at it, then that's fine. If we want to clarify a few things, then we need to kind of have some idea what exactly that is.
Tom, are you still there?
Yep, we're still here.
different radios have different output and receive capabilities, is that correct?
What, are you talking about power? What are you talking about there?
Power would be a good use, yeah.
Well, the powers are actually part of the standards, like a portable radio. The FCC has specified the standards for the maximum power, and all of the portable radios that you would buy meet that FCC standard, which is dictated there. So actually, all of the radios that you would use have pretty much identical power outputs as well as the sensitivity on the receiver side.
My thought process was if some of the radios had more output receive power than others, that might impact the number of towers that, or tower locations. And a spin off that, I look at these radio prices here in the bids. So if I purchase a $600 mobile, I'm going to get the same performance out of it as I do a $3,800 mobile.
Well, the power is the electrical performance of the radio, right? So you deal with the electrical performance of the radio for power and receiver sensitivity. The other things are features, and so the manufacturers will build in additional features or different sorts of things that dictate their pricing models. And so there are a lot of other factors that dictate that price, but electrically, the $600 radio is going to perform the same as the $3,800 radio, frankly.
To clarify a little bit, if you bought a Motorola XTL 1500 that we all use as our mobile radio, it's a 50-watt radio. If you bought the Motorola 6500, it's still a 50-watt radio. It's still going to give you the same transmit-receive capability as far as physical distances like that. What the 6500, it may have trunking capability, it may have other features in there that raise that price significantly, but my guess would be that the actual transmit receive part of it, it's the same. They just add all those other features to it.
They talk the same distances and receive the same.
So, and portables, generally, all the portables we've ever gotten, and the maximum I believe you can get a portable is 5 watts. You can get less if you're in a larger city environment, but generally 5 watts is what we've always gotten. Our Motorola handhelds were 5 watts, our Kenwood handhelds are 5 watts, and our mobile radios have always been 50 watts, regardless.
Are the small Kenwoods, the Motorola 1500s we had, they were 50? The small Kenwoods, are they 50?
The portables, the handhelds?
Mobile,
okay, the mobiles, yes, they're both 50.
I mean, I can call Motorola and get a clarification on what they mean by they don't feel like they have a good working relationship or whatever.
You can't drag them back in at this point anyway.
No, I can't, but I can get hopefully a better explanation on why they didn't.
I mean, I would like to know that our specifications were clear and achievable. Everybody's playing on the same field that, you know.
I can do that as a follow-up.
Motorola probably wouldn't be the person to ask that question to a third-party independent engineer firm to assess it, maybe.
Well, but not to answer the question that Motorola on high is the one that didn't bid on it, right?
Yeah.
Right, and I can do that as a clarification. What can we do better next time? Kind of. Yeah. You know.
Well, and I got direction, and I couldn't go educate myself. I couldn't go talk to anybody during this process. I got,
If you want to find an independent engineer like Trot is, you can probably do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't have any interest in
the outcome.
Right.
Well, and now that's anybody outside these two organizations.
Right, but I wouldn't advise calling up Motorola saying, hey,
Yeah, I don't want to bring Motorola in here and ask them to.
I can ask for clarification from them.
Motorola is done. Sounds to me like.
Right, but I mean,
we can't withdraw these RFPs, right?
We could reject
you can reject them all, and we
That's
can
why I
redo
don't
it.
think, if we're going to bring somebody in, we need to bring in, and to look at this again, it needs to be a consultant and not another vendor.
We need to start with why they didn't.
Right, I can call and ask for clarification. I can do that. as the entity, the owner. I can call and say, you know, I'm taking a survey and want to know what can we do better, and find out why they did not.
Yeah.
And see if they will, you know, be honest. But in order to get a clearer view of the specs, you need, I would not advise to call another.
We don't need to contact a vendor that does that.
Another radio company. You can call an independent engineer that doesn't have any interest in the outcome, if that's what you want.
Well, let us add on this is, if we could, Trot doesn't have an interest in the outcome either. It doesn't matter to us one bit if Harris wins or if Self wins, right? The role that we had is to put together the spec to assist with the evaluation of that spec, and it doesn't change one thing for us regardless of the winner here.
And both vendors were provided the exact same information, the exact opportunities to answer questions and have those questions answered, the additional frequencies, the new site location, all the information was provided to both vendors to make their decisions and their inputs.
But because they responded to RFPs, they got to ask additional questions and got to receive clarification and stuff that the third party never got an opportunity.
Any other vendors that didn't choose to participate, yes.
Yeah. So.
But that was, well, I can't answer why they didn't, but that's their decision.
And the question would be, do they think it's feasible? Is it doable, that kind of stuff?
Unless you plan on rejecting and redoing it, it's not usually, no. On some.
That's a concern.
But nothing in this ties us to purchase Kenwood.
Oh, but it does, because you have a vendor that can't produce anything but Kenwood.
Well, but all the radios are optional purchases. That's all. I'll wait for the ambulance.
Let the record show that's a siren.
Yeah.
Okay, but the radios, it's my understanding that any radios would be an optional purchase, that we don't have to purchase radios from either one of the vendors if we went with Self or if we went with Harris. It doesn't obligate us to then purchase radios from said vendor.
Right. Your user communications are entirely up to us. We can buy whatever we want. As long as it's P25, it will work with this system.
Okay.
Hold on, Tom, you had a comment?
I just wanted to reiterate what you were saying, that we did ask all the vendors to provide portable and mobile radio pricing, but just as an option while they were providing this infrastructure response. We just wanted to get pricing for their radios just so we could evaluate that.
Okay, so the 1.6 million doesn't include any radios.
Only the repeaters in the infrastructure, yes.
So there's no radios in that. We're just, see, okay.
And those quotes that they gave us were for just, we're not obligated to even those quotes for those additional radios that they do provide. That's all part of a deal we can do later, but whether we want to buy in the future, Motorola, Kenwood, Harris, whoever it is, as long as they're P25, which everything we've been buying for the last 15 years is, and we'll work with this.
We've pretty much transitioned out of the Motorola's altogether in our emergency vehicles, have we not?
We have, yes.
Can I ask the Sheriff and
Kevin?
Are you all close to Kenwood at this point?
We're switching over to Kenwood. It's a good performer and it has lower cost. So we're probably right now 50-50, but we're slowly, as the Motorola's go out, we're replacing those with Kenwood, both portable and mobile, and we've had great success with them. So
I think we're close to 100% changed over now, right? Yes, so we've got no complaints. Infrastructure, yes, the radios themselves.
You running Kenwood or Motorola bases now? Consoles. What's your consoles at the sheriff's office? Are they Motorola or Kenwood?
I'm not sure.
The consoles, I'm not positive. The repeaters that they're running off of are some Quantar and some Kenwood. I think there's a mix now. We've gotten some newer ones when other ones have blown up. And I don't, as I understand it, the console, I guess that would be included in this, and I don't know what they've got proposed specifically, but.
Bottom line, I want the best product we can get out there for emergency services, with the best support we can get behind it.
So if he brings it back, what do you want the questions answered? We just need to visit with Ray. We'll let you know when it's time. Is that good enough?
I just don't want to shelve it indefinitely,
Well, hey, this has been shelved for a long time.
It has, and it's...
The civil's been fiber question, so fiber is being installed by Education Service Center 11 to Civil's Bend School, and as I understand, it should be there if it's not already. I know they were all the way to 410 last I saw months ago.
It does go all the way to the school, but the school's not live on it.
Not live yet, okay.
And can we talk to why Windstar was abandoned?
I will in a second, yes, if I may. And so we discussed with the provider, we were given that information from Education Service Center 11, who the fiber provider was to Civil's Bend. We've contacted them with Trot, and they've said that they're good to go. We can tie into their fiber. We'll be a user. There will be a fee, but it won't be any more than another user would generally pay. So, and there's plenty of backbone to use. So for that one in particular, that's where that's at.
What kind of fee is that typically?
I don't know. Tom, do you have any idea what the fiber fee might be?
No, sir, not offhand, no.
I don't know. Did we get an estimate from Nortex for the other two?
Nortex, no, I don't have an estimate on.
But the availability.
I know that that's capable. That's all I know.
And we're at our max on renting from Nortex.
But Nortex would go through, be a sub-vendor of this vendor, either one of them, I believe, to run a little additional.
Talking about the 50K, is that what we're talking about, Shirley?
Because we already rent fiber and the,
But if there's, on the Rice Avenue, I believe there's going to have to be some build out, but they're going to be, I think both of them probably have it in their plans to use Nortex to finish out that fiber, and so it's under these bids or proposals, excuse me, is how we're not paying Nortex, they're paying Nortex. Okay. But the question is very...
Watching a tennis game.
And I'm sorry, what was your...
Actually, can we talk to what happened at Windstar?
So when we initially went with the proposal, the thought was to get a north site to be able to cover back into the river bottoms for coverage toward Delaware Bend, Illinois Bend, that general vicinity up there. Windstar seemed like a good option. I actually thought there was a regular radio tower, but it ended up the best they could offer us was a water tower. And so that was the site location. We did a visit up there with all of the proposed bidders. They all looked at it, and they all felt that there were significant issues with using the water tower with the 5 frequencies we had, because there was a frequency conflict, and they all felt the best way to solve that conflict was distance and height. And so they would had to use extra antenna mounts at that location all over the water tower to give them certain distances and separations so it wouldn't interfere with each other. So that led us to working with Trot, find a better location and a more independent one that we would have better control over. So Civil's Bend was modeled, as well as 3 other sites closer to Moss Lake. That one had the best coverage. It also gives us another public entity in their location. They already had a propane service there and electricity there and enough room to do it. At the same time, that generated the discussion with APCO, the licensing organization, to determine if more frequencies in the VHF range were available that would help either bidder or proposer deconflict. And so that was provided. The APCO then provided, Tom, do you remember 8, 10 frequencies?
Yeah, there were several.
Sorry?
Several.
several.
Yeah, that sounds all right. We have the full listing. We can provide that to anyone.
Okay, anyway, there were 8 to 10 additional frequencies that were provided that were basically reserved by APCO for this project for us to use. So then to take hours that we already had and then put those others in the mix to provide the opportunity to deconflict those problems they were having. And so all of that information was provided to both responders. And so they had that, sir.
Ray, let me just add, those they weren't reserved by APCO. They were just found to be available to license at the time. So
Okay.
they're free right now.
Okay. So they were all provided the extra frequencies and the site at Sybil's Bend, those GPS coordinates as part of the question and answer give and take over the last 6 or 7 months since we started this. And so they were both allowed or used or had that available information to develop their final proposal, which is what this is all about. And so with that, then they were able to deconflict and say, yeah, on the same towers, we can put all of these using these additional frequencies to replace here or there and make this system work. So how either one chose to use that information and interpret it and analyze it and engineer it, I can only say this is what they have provided, given both had the same exact information.
And the hotel wasn't an option. It's high,
No.
it's taller than the water tower.
Yeah, they didn't want to, that wasn't and then it became pretty obvious early that the ease of availability was not there.
Does that bother you that fiber optic line isn't buried going out to Sybil's Bend?
I'm sure it will be buried. I don't know.
No, it's on poles.
Oh, is it on poles?
It's on poles.
Not really. The system, as I understand it, will be built that if any one fails, the other two stay up. And so if a truck hit a pole and took the line out for a temporary amount of time, the others that are buried, somebody could punch a hole in those too. So our redundancy or our ability isn't going to be severely impacted if we lose any one. The system is designed to the other two to keep moving, and in fact, we would still be better off than we are today with 2 sites if we lost that one.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this? So we'll chew on it a little more and bring it back at a later date unless I hear something otherwise. Item number 10 will be no action. Item number 11 is, thank you, Tom. Item number 11 is open public hearing regarding replats of Lots 6 and 7 of Section 9 at Whispering Hills Estates located in Precinct 4. Commissioner, you want to talk to this or you want me to?
No one presented it to me. I found out that we were doing it whenever I opened my packet over the weekend.
Well, I sent it to you a month or so back, I think.
Well, maybe so.
But what this is
but I couldn't find it. Anyway, go ahead.
It is the adjoining property owner owns several other lots, and he's sectioning off a piece of it to add to that lot. So
he's taking one piece and adding it to another one.
So
it's all meets all the specs and it's all fine. As far as I'm concerned, it meets all the county regulations.
It does, and
all the neighbors are happy.
There's been public notice, and we don't have any. This is a public hearing. We don't have anybody on the line for the public hearing.
It's about as public as it
So we will. Item number 12 is to close the public hearing at 11:05, and then item number 13 is deliberate and consider possible approval of replat of lots 6 and 7 for Section 9 of Whispering Hills Estates. It does
make a motion we approve.
Check all the boxes. We got a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 14 is deliberate consider possible approval of purchasing in-car video cameras for patrol cars from state Chapter 59 funds. Sheriff. Why don't you go, because I think the audio on the on the video doesn't work unless you're talking to the mic. It's okay. Commissioner Snuggs doesn't need to speak today.
Good morning. Okay. I came today to ask your permission to spend money out of Chapter 59, which is drug seizure money. We're asking to buy 11 watch guard units for the existing patrol cars that do not have watch guard in them now. We've been buying watch guards for the last 3 years through the budget process. When we bought new cars, they had watch guards installed from Defender when we bought the cars. There's 11 cars that still have the other company's system in it. They're all out of warranty now. We're still having problems with them. They're in California. Sometimes there is problems with getting responses, shipments of replacement parts, things like that. Watch guards in Frisco. It is considered, I think, the top of the line for this area as far as in-car video systems are. It's something that we need. The money is there in Chapter 59. It will keep me or the sheriff next year coming in and asking you for money to buy watch guard cameras or another camera to outfit the cars that are pre-existing. This will not go into any cars that would be up for replacement next year. This is the cars that will be kept, I would presume, to be kept on the street.
Any issue with taking it out of that fund?
No.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement, seconded by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Sheriff. Item number 15 is deliberate and consider possible approval of AV improvements for Commissioners Courtroom. Daryl, you want to talk to us about this? Something Daryl and I are floating around, option on having a better sound system for Commissioners Court.
Right. So to briefly summarize, we have a couple of problems in this room with the audio. Primary is feedback with the speakers that we have. I don't know if y'all have noticed it, but we've been leaving the left side speaker off so that we don't have feedback. We're positioning the right side speaker toward the wall. Second problem is with these mics, like I'm speaking into. These are in the spectrum that FCC has auctioned off, so we can't use these anymore. So at the minimum, we have to replace these mics. We should also replace the speakers. The vendor has given us a proposal for many more things to turn this room into a, super video conferencing room. So we can option just to do the mics and the speakers, or we can do much more. So whatever you'd like to talk about.
Well, we'd also gotten a quote to do carpet in here also, to tone down some of the
reverberations.
There you go.
The echo.
But that was several years ago, so I'm sure the quote's
probably needs to be looked at
updated.
If we do that first, will that change what we need to?
Oh, I'm sure. I don't necessarily. I put this on court. I would love to have this system, but I don't necessarily know that we're ready to pull the trigger on anything right now on it. But this is at least to get that talking point out there on it, because
we ought to try the carpet before we do it.
Oh yeah, I'm not.
That brings us back to
I'm not out.
THC
carpet squares,
which you now know the vendor of, but. That's on another line item, but we'll get to you here in a second. Yeah. But you do have information to potentially get this room done as well.
Can THC got any issue with that?
I don't see why. It's going to be the same beautiful green like we have everywhere else.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a problem. And then we might have to do something with the speakers. But our mics.
At least replace these with.
But that's not a $30,000 project. That's
these microphones are not very good quality, and you said that the federal government auctioned off
the wireless ones.
So these two wireless ones that Shelley has and that I have here.
Yeah.
So the wired ones, there's nothing to make us change those.
other than the fact that you got to be that far away from them to make them work?
We've been tinkering with the sound a bit, and it seems like being a foot away is really good right now, so you don't have to get right up on the microphone.
Now you tell me. I've been leaning forward yelling into it. Everybody thinks I'm angry.
No comment.
No comment. That wasn't nice.
So the only question I have is the vendor you're looking at, are they on a co-op or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we, for the last project in district court, I spent a long time trying to get quotes from vendors, and vendors just didn't seem to want to give us quotes on that. And the one vendor that did, it was so vastly out of our price range that we've gone back to the original vendor that did all the work, and they're quite willing.
I mean, if you need us to get on the co-ops and look, we'll do that.
You might do that, Shelley. Just go ahead, and that way we can get a second price or on kind of on what. And the thing about this one is we don't necessarily have to pull the trigger on all of it. We can
Shelley, I can give you the request I sent to this vendor so you can see what I said, if that'll help you.
Okay.
So we'll get a quote on some carpet squares as well. But we do need to make some improvements to the AV in this room, I think. Regardless of however we continue to operate, whether it's under something like this or whether it's just normal. Probably not a $30,000 entire sound. But that's not a bad...
Well, it's sad we can upgrade the sound system as long as we got that post in the room. It's not ever going to be the most conducive to a good meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we can't
Don't try to take the post out.
I was going to say, we really can't take that out.
Take that out.
I don't think that would cause issues, do you?
Yeah, it's one of the...
Item 15 will be no action. Item 16 is deliberate and consider possible approval of FDA-approved monitored defibrillators for EMS and budget amendment for the same. Kevin?
This was brought up, I think, a month and a half ago. The monitors we have will...
We'll wait on the...
Wheel issue or something.
Okay.
So the monitors we have, they go on end of life in February 2021. With Zoll, if we don't order by June, they're minimum 6 months out. If we waited till the beginning of the budget cycle, we wouldn't have monitors, and obviously we wouldn't be in business. So this is just brought back in saying we try to move forward with it, get the order in. It would be budgeted in the next budget, even though we'd have to do a PO this budget. There's a slight difference in the original quote that I turned in. It was $331,000, and it had depot service. We found with the depot service with expensive equipment, it gets more expensive to insure it and ship it than it is to have them do on-site. All our other major medical equipment is on-site, and they come in one time, they do the preventive maintenance once a year that we have to do that to be recalibrated, and then they fix it on-site versus trying to ship it to them. They fix it, turn around and ship it back to us. So that was a $6,200 difference. So the total was $338,157.33. But it's something we have to move forward with, and we're not going to have a choice. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
With the coronavirus stuff, is it going to delay any of this? I mean, is this equipment that's needed now more than normal?
Well, I mean, it's our cardiac monitors. Bottom line is that we have to give them at least 6 months lead time to get them produced. They're having, obviously, with Philips going out of the EMS monitor side, we're not the only ones in this, and they're looking at quadrupling their production. So.
And I was just saying, is there going to be even more of a delay than what we'd have thought a month and a half ago? Because
not that I'm aware of, but I mean, there's always possible.
What was the question we had the last time? This is the second
time.
It was on
I was on a contract co-op,
okay.
And I think we've...
Yes.
We've got Yeah, because we've hashed this over a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Yes, we did, they sent us 2 vendors, and I don't remember which one you chose, but I think it was PPP, is that?
We had to do a co-op out of Washington State.
Yeah,
we've
we've got to do it, so
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
need a motion, I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement. Second by Commissioner John Clement. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
And the budget amendment's larger because the trade-in value goes to revenue.
Yeah, so it all nets out, but it just comes.
Right.
Which is item 17, deliberate and consider possible approval of surplus by trade-in of 9 Philips monitors located at EMS. We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs. Second by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item 18 is deliberate regarding status and future needs of new CPS court and consider any possible action on the same. Rick, you got an update?
Basically, don't have too much more information except that I did contact the company that manufactures the carpet squares. They referred me to a vendor that's in Dallas, and I contacted them, and I have taken pictures. They requested I take pictures of what we have and sent that to them, and I'm waiting on a quote. She said she'd get me a quote and see if that product is still being manufactured. A lot of times they'll discontinue a line, but she said she would double check and try to figure out what we have for sure and if it's available and then how much, but I have not got that back from her yet.
Can you get us the name? We can Google it and see who else might have it somewhere.
Yes.
Or a comparable product?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, it might not be in Dallas. We might can order it from
someplace else.
Oklahoma City, who knows?
Somewhere.
They have a lot of different
Washington
designs
State.
and different
Right.
products.
It's worth his old.
Different colors and all kinds of different products. That same brand name does. Also on the doors, the lead time was 2 weeks, so that was over a week ago. So I'm expecting, I don't know if they'll come in this week or not, but possibly next week. And then as soon as we get the doors in, then he can set the frame to start building the walls. So that's where we are on that.
Anything else by anybody else? If not, item number 18 will be no action. Thank you, Rick. Item 19 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding application for CTIF grant, including consideration of hiring Allison Bass McGee LLP to assist with the grant process. We did get a letter, I think everybody was copied on that, from Allison and Bass that said that they'd be willing to assist with that process if need be. Went ahead and put that on court just because I know with everything else between the 2 FEMA grants, and I didn't know if the auditor's office was going to be overwhelmed or if they thought that they could handle this project. I'll defer to Shelley to that here in a minute, but then we also have to do something on that application within the next, we've got a few more weeks on it, but Shelley, you think your office can handle that application, or do you?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
She can't wait.
She's jumping up and down with joy.
Well, during the original road grant, only one commissioner had work order system, and the rest were manual. So pretty much everybody has the work order system now. And in watching the webinar the other day, I asked the question, can we submit, if we did the work ourselves on force account labor, which is our employees, can I submit it like FEMA, including workers' comp, insurance, all that? And they said yes. So there should be no formula change for the commissioners, and they can keep doing it the way they do the FEMA. So I would think that the amount of money to pay Allison and Bass to do it could stay here, and they could use every bit, and they have 5 years to spend this money. So I would think hopefully this COVID would be over by then,
In 5 years?
I sure hope so.
Please don't say things like that.
And I'm hoping the 2015 flood will be over by then.
I'm sure that one will still be going on, but the COVID.
They'll probably want to audit it about the time it's over. But you said no formula. We'll still need to change. Some FEMA rates have changed, right?
Yeah, the FEMA equipment rates, well, we can update those, and then the employee salaries will update, yeah, but, and also, they're hoping to award by June 25th, which was pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, and then the counties that don't apply, they'll recirculate that money, so we possibly could get more money. But yeah, I think that my office, because the first go around we got like $1.2 million. I mean, but it's up to y'all. If y'all want Allison and Beth to do it, then.
No, I thought we ought to talk about this today too, for the simple fact, to give you the opportunity to graciously say, yes, you please want to do it.
Well, I'm not begging, but, you know.
Well, I didn't want to just dump something on you that we had no idea really what it was going to be.
Right.
And you saw, the webinar the other day.
Yeah.
And, that helped.
Annual road report, did you add anything about oil field traffic in your last road report?
No. I don't know.
Patching a road?
I'd have to go look. And we have to use the last road report. You can't write a new one.
And I've been focused on floods.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's going to be an issue in this or not, because my main focus has been repairing flood damage. So that's going to be huge areas of the state's going to be different. I can't imagine that would be an issue, but you never know. I know I'm a little uneasy that Shelley said this is just going to be like FEMA. Dear God, I hope not.
Well, I mean, the report, the reimbursement request.
Okay, the reimbursement. Okay, because FEMA was like pulling teeth.
No. I'm looking at it from my end, the reimbursement request.
I've got to go back to 15 or 16 to find reference to heavy truck traffic in a road report.
Yeah, but
it's not that it hadn't been there. It's just been the focus of the road report.
I think
flood damage.
I think the main focus of the grant was oil wells. Anyway, how many oil wells, and vertical versus horizontal and all that, as much as what your road report's going to say.
I'm just concerned they might reject our request if we didn't show specific damage, because that's what it's based on.
Maybe not last year. Well, I mean, it changes from year to year, so.
No, we have it every year. That just hadn't been the focus of the documentation.
Yeah. No.
Hello? So we're seeing Allison and Bass.
No on Allison and Bass, and then we still chewing over how to allocate or anything else on that now. I mean, we don't have to act on it right now. The grant's not even open until toward the end of the month.
Yeah, but we need to
kind of
start planning on
what
we're going to do. What are they going to need, Shelley, as far as information? Just how detailed do they need?
No, isn't it just?
Well, they need a list of the prioritized roads. So I mean, y'all are going to have to decide.
Almost looks like the same sheet, Leon, that we used before.
That's what I think.
Road.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Just best guess.
Yeah, and I during the webinar they said you can swap out a road.
Yeah, just like we did the last.
Yeah, just like you did last time, but you're going to have to come up with a list and then.
Well, it's not as huge a sum of money. It's not that big a sum of money, so we can spend all of that on.
But for planning purposes, we're planning on allocating it 25%. Split it 4 ways.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to go out there and plan on spending $100,000 and find out we're going to split it some other way.
Well, and then I need to go find the answers on the application to how much we were awarded and how much did we end up spending and how much did we not spend for the 14 grant.
It seemed like there was some money that came. We got a little extra money or something after that one, didn't we?
There was, but when we finished up, I think there was I think precinct 3 had a little bit left to spend.
Oh, I didn't spend all mine, I know, like 60 or 70,000, seemed like. Maybe not that much, but I didn't use it all. I come in under.
And maybe we reshuffled all that. I need to go look. And it just says the county, you do your application, the list of roads, and your county road report, county road condition report from the preceding year. And you need to come up with an amount that you're requesting. Like for each road.
Road would be rough estimate or an estimate.
A description of scope for each project and a proposed project work and implementation plan, a schedule of proposed activity, and an estimate of project cost for each road.
And we can chip or seal or asphalt or gravel.
Yes.
It's not.
See, I don't remember them preventing us from doing that before. I thought we just chose not to because of the...
I don't remember anymore that far back. And you made a statement a while ago, Shelley, when we did the first one commissioner had his records computerized. Which one was that? Oh, that was precinct 4.
On him, not diss me.
That was precinct 4, wasn't it? Isn't that amazing? Anyway, sorry, I couldn't help it.
So is this grant strictly oil field, or is this all heavy equipment that's traveling?
They've got a formula in there on how they divided all that up. I don't have that right in front of me at the moment.
However they've done it,
it's not 100% oil fill, but it's got here it is. So 10% overweight or weight tolerance permits, 20% oil and gas production taxes, 45% horizontal well, 15% vertical, and then 10% volume of waste injection. So that's your injection wells.
fortunately, they already tracked all that for us.
Yeah, I'm glad they came up with how all that broke down.
Well, I just know Precinct 3 during the last oil boom was hit pretty hard. I don't know what the remainder of the precincts were hit. I don't know.
Injection wells.
I got a road they're wearing out, cutting off 82 going to 371 because they don't want to make that intersection at Walnut Bend Road. They don't want to turn across traffic.
Yeah, I've got the injection wells and I've got the horizontal wells.
I think you've got, I looked at the map, you've got all the horizontal. If you look, and there's a map that I pulled it up the other day when we first got this. It looks like that oil wells themselves, there's quite a few throughout the county, and some of them older, some of them newer, whatever the case may be. Injection wells are pretty similar too, but you do have, I think, most if not all, the vertical wells.
I really don't figure we change the way we split it.
I would just
do what?
I don't suggest we change the way we split it. We split it between the 4 precincts. I just wanted to clarify that before a bunch of us go off and do work on estimates and find out, whoop, we had a different plan.
Now, you can hire somebody to do it for you. Then we'd have to bid it out. Just like.
That may be a different story if it was significantly more than 400,000.
Yeah. It won't take long to spend $125,000. That's one road.
You can apply, you don't have to wait till April 27th to submit your application. Bless you.
We moving?
We're moving. We'll put this will be on court for next week too, since we're meeting every week. So item 19 is no action. Item 20 is deliberate, consider possible action regarding FEMA grant, the 2015 flood edition. Anything new on FEMA 15?
You see the email from Friday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If not, we'll move on to item number 21, which is deliberate and consider possible action regarding FEMA grant DR 4485 COVID-19 edition. The only thing I've got on this is we did get authorization to submit the designation of subrecipient and the general terms information, and that was already submitted.
You have any idea what you've spent so far?
To start that process. We have any idea what we spent so far?
No.
What are we committed to spending?
Well, we've got the, I know the tent rental, and I think that that's through 2 more months of that, roughly? 3 more months of that, potentially? We have 3 months total on that. And so that's just under 40, I think.
3 months or for the
total?
Total.
Oh, just under 30 total, excuse me. And then that's the big expense. There's been some little ancillary expenses here or there. IT costs to get departments up and running has been an expense, several $1,000s. I don't know that it's topped much more over.
Some additional PPE, I think.
Yeah, PPE for, and some medical for EMS. But there hasn't been any, other than the tent was the only big ticket thing at the moment.
What's reimbursable?
Most of it, it's supposed to be.
At a match or?
At a match, I mean, so you get into this major disaster declaration thing that might actually change your numbers up somewhat, but you're looking at least a 75% reimbursement for, I would say for the tent and a lot of the medical side of it. I don't know on the IT side just yet.
Do you have it in writing? Because I was told, the county was told many, many things with the flood. And Shelley, you know how that's changed over the...
We've spent $38,000 so far.
But is it in writing what will give us back? Because I wouldn't believe anything they told me anymore.
Well, I know that we got clarification on computers, that they won't fall under category B, that they might fall under management costs, which is probably DAC, like DAC. But listening to the webinar, we can claim like category B emergency and extingent. So setting up the mobile, the tents, and...
So how much reimbursable is it?
It's 75.
75%. Okay.
Pilot program, maybe.
So like the flatbed that we put on, the
four-wheeler,
I don't know about that.
That should be
medical, some kind of medical something.
Yeah, I mean,
We should be able to try.
but that's like, that wasn't a high dollar, I mean, it was a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, but I mean, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of that is borderline.
Yeah.
On whether that's an emergency or if that's, but the working from home, the computers.
That is even more.
Yeah.
they're not going to pay labor, are they?
It's overtime.
Overtime.
Or if it's, yeah.
So the time that the guys have spent from Road and Bridge helping out at the test site won't be?
No.
I mean, it's minimal at this point.
No, because you're during the day, I mean, you're just.
But it was a cost, I mean.
But if you're bringing on an additional personnel specifically for that, that may be reimbursable.
I mean, you're using your equipment for a different reason. I mean, I would keep track of it. We can.
Or overtime.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the librarians' employees were.
They're helping
do something different, and,
Traffic,
but
signage.
there's no equipment there, I mean,
Yeah.
so,
That's a fixed cost no matter where they're at.
right.
Even though they're reassigned.
Even though they've been reassigned. Now, like Shelley said, that you might be able to say that's a match.
Right.
Potentially.
So we have librarians helping.
There's a couple of people from the library that help on, because where the tent testing, you got to go around, well, they're at the front that's directing people that are coming in and go around.
These full-time people?
These are, I believe, full-time people.
And keep in mind, that's because they're closed down, they don't have anything to do.
Right.
Well,
I know they had part-time. I was just curious if we had part-time people out there helping that might draw a different scenario if they're full-time.
I believe they're full-time. I believe both of them are.
I hate to have a part-time person out there that doesn't have insurance to the county that could possibly attract this virus, and then they're not covered, and is there liability on the county then on that?
It's still workers' comp for part-time.
Should be fine on part-timers for workers' comp.
Now, I know another county's already contracted for hotel rooms for first responders to stay in.
Well, that's the discussion that might need to be had here at some point, too.
Statler Hotel in Dallas done folks a good deed by setting aside 2 floors for emergency responders.
Who did?
The Statler Hotel.
Statler.
Library has 1 full-time and 1 part-time.
I knew one of them was full-time.
But your part-time's covered under workers' comp,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, if they're working, they're covered by it.
Not like it's going to be on their health care insurance that they don't have.
So if they, part-time person caught the virus,
They're covered.
they would be covered by workers' comp.
Yeah, because
Yeah. Well, and the COVID,
it's a disaster, yeah.
the federal government's covering treatment, testing and treatment for COVID.
So I do need action item on this, or I do need action to authorize submission of the general terms and agreement and everything that's in that agenda there.
So we can apply.
Yeah, or ratify it, because I already sent it in.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, seconded by Commissioner Snuggs.
Let's have some discussion.
Yeah, how much money did you spend? I don't know.
Wait a minute. So you just told me you didn't know what you spent, you're not sure what you've done, you're going to change what you're going to do, and you've already sent all the forms in, and I'm supposed to approve that.
I'm sent the forms in to
Do you
start
know what happened to Clay Jenkins here the other week?
Ooh.
We were assigned the same Cone Resnick people as the flood.
Well, I rest my case.
But I have asked Tatum if we could have new, different people, and they're supposed to be
different people.
They're supposed to be checking different people in Cone Resnick, and I haven't heard back yet.
That's probably going to make them upset, so you're going to pay the price on the ones you're dealing with now.
Yeah.
Haven't heard back yet.
We'll see.
Anyway, what happened to that? Oh, yeah, brought up the Clay Jenkins thing where
This Commissioners Court.
Commissioners Court reined in their
Voted
judge
to-
because he was sending in paperwork before they knew about it.
I think it was signing a lot of orders and without consultation.
Same difference.
It re-became the Commissioner's
Well, which is,
Court.
we'll bring up that point, which becomes an interesting quandary of legalese, because the Commissioners Court is over the declaration extension, but the judge is over the order, so I guess it would be an interesting scenario. What would happen if that was ever, especially in a situation like Dallas County, if that was ever put into sure question on?
I think they're getting close to finding out.
I
noticed the
but
judge got a lot more quiet after that.
Yeah, but by statute, emergency management coordinator, right? I mean.
Well, by statute, the county judge is the one that issues that order, but the disaster declaration can only continue with the consent of Commissioners Court. So the way that the check on that, just for public consumption here, the check on that is that Commissioners Court can no longer consent to the disaster declaration.
That's right.
And then the judge can no longer issue orders. Now, in a perfect society, in a well-functioning government, you would have a judge that would have at least enough consent, or at least enough, or not jump out too far on a limb without Commissioners Court.
There you go.
Without Commissioners Court.
I finally got him to the point. I finally got him to the point that I wanted him to get to. Anyway.
So we do have a motion and a second to submit the paperwork. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Item number 22 is executive session in compliance with Texas Open Meetings Act 551 of the Government Code. We'll take a short break and come back, and it is 11:41. It is 12:51. We are back in regular session. Item 23 is deliberate and consider any possible action on the public health declaration for COVID-19. I don't believe we have any action. My understanding, the governor's supposed to come out with some guidance later this week, so we'll be monitoring that. Item 24 is deliberate and consider any possible action regarding personnel matter, and I don't believe we have any action. Item 25 is future agenda items. Don't believe we have any. Item 26 is to adjourn.
I'll make it.
We have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Snuggs. I'll second that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. Sorry, Megan, we just wasted an hour of your time for nothing.